Yeah.
We're gonna bark.
No, well, if you want.
Okay, ready?
I do.
I'm gonna do it. Okay.
Roof.
To me, I'm quoting you to the letter. You're revolutionary. It's such a load to carry. You're overpaid to complete this playing fields on the level. And anyone can agree it's not a vote for the devil. It doesn't make any sense to reassemble your fence. Our revolution is now, the place we're going is better. You say you're going with me. You say you're going with me. You say you're going with me.
Got it.
One portrait.
That was wonderful. That was a teaser. You have definitely left me wanting more.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Melody Motel. This is Lane. You just heard one portrait, or the very beginning of 48 Portraits, which is the multi-song suite / multi-headed monster that Andrew Scott of Sloan put together for his side of Sloan's Commonwealth LP. That was live on KEXP from Seattle, so thank you KEXP for posting live performances from your studios to YouTube, which I can then in turn use on my show. See how that works? I would say it's a symbiotic relationship, but they don't get anything out of it. More about that in a moment. Sloan and Commonwealth, not symbiosis. The show happened. The Sloan show at the Hi-Fi that I have been alluding to throughout this entire Sloan series on Melody Motel happened this past Tuesday night. I had hoped to do all the albums on the show before the show happened, but it didn't happen. But I got close. I got closer than I thought, actually. I was afraid the whole thing would just blow up in my face. But I got almost all the albums reviewed and revisited on the show before the live show happened. And we're just left with Commonwealth in 12, which we'll talk about today. But the show happened at the Hi-Fi, and I cannot say enough about how good it was. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say it's one of the best shows that I've ever seen. Certainly one of the best I've seen in a long time. I don't go to many shows anymore for a variety of reasons, adulthood. But it was amazing. They were so fun, super tight, fine-tuned, super loud, fatiguingly loud, as Chris Murphy would describe them after the show. When we spoke to him, more on that in a moment too. But just can't say enough about it. They played 2 sets of about an hour apiece, with a break in between. They looked cool. Maybe that is a goofy fanboy thing to say, but I guess I'm a goofy fanboy when it comes to Sloan. They look cool. Earlier in the band's career, they maybe looked a little bit more uniform, I guess. Kind of mop-toppy guys. But now that they've gotten older, they've all sort of settled into their own personalities, and they all sort of have a distinctive look that distinguishes them from each other, which reminds me a lot of Cheap Trick. I always thought that was one of the cool things about Cheap Trick, which you have the two cool rocker guys and then the 2 dorks. Nobody's really a dork in Sloan, but they do all have a distinctive look. Patrick Pentland, of course, with his Gandalf-esque long white beard and hair, which I have disparaged privately on many occasions, and urged him to shave it all off, not to his face. But when you see him in person, it all fits with the package a little bit better, I guess. And, he's a grown man. It's his hair and beard, and he can do what he wants. But looked cool. Great choice of songs. Didn't play anything from Navy Blues because they are going to come back and do that entire album live in 2019 after they re-release it. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that. So didn't get to hear Money City Maniacs, but got to hear all the hits, a big chunk of the new album. Some surprises, some things you didn't expect, like Fading into Obscurity. Didn't expect to hear that. I could ramble on, and maybe I will. Got to meet Jay Ferguson and Chris Murphy after the show and talked to them for a few minutes. I'm sure they probably would have talked for longer. They didn't run us off, but I tried to cut the conversation off at a reasonable time. Both very conversational and friendly, and they had a real conversation with you. It wasn't just a fan and a rock star type of conversation. Murphy was talking about how there are songs they feel like they should play, big hits, when they play somewhere where they haven't played in a long, long time, like Indianapolis. And he said, if it was me, we would just do a 3-hour Springsteen-type show, but we are fatiguingly loud, and we have so many songs, and so on and so forth. And he kind of trailed off there. But Ferguson, this was not part of our conversation, but we were listening to him talk to people as we walked up, and he commented that he had just seen ELO a few days ago, and I think somebody asked him for his favorite band, and he was trying to decide between the Smiths and ABBA, which shows what a dedicated pop music fan that he is. And he was also very encouraging to friend of the show, Brandon, when we talked up Brandon's 4-track recording career as Baby Doll Head. If you're listening and you want to hear Baby Doll Head, it is not available on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube or in a record store. I don't know how to tell you how to get it. If you want to listen to it, ask Brandon. But anyway, Ferguson was very encouraging because Brandon said to Ferguson, "You're such a great songwriter, and I write songs, and I wish I could write just one song as good as anything you could write." And Ferguson looked at him very sincerely and said, "You can." And I don't think he was just blowing smoke. The last thing he said to us before we walked away was to Brandon, he said, "Keep on writing songs." And I thought, well, that's cool, a guy like that trying to encourage others to keep the music we all love alive. Really neat. So Sloan, come back soon. Shout out to the Hi-Fi too in Indianapolis. I had never been there. It was actually very convenient to get there and park once we got to Indianapolis. We left Mitchell, Indiana at 4 o'clock, and the construction traffic on Highway 37 in Indiana was so terrible it took us 3 full hours to get there. Got there just as the doors were opening, though. And the Hi-Fi, good sound, nice room, smells nice. You can tell I don't go out much. Friendly bartenders, which I always appreciate. When you go to a place like that and the bartenders are snobbish pricks, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But these guys were cool. And then the other thing that I should mention is that almost all of my best friends were there, which made the show that more special, just to experience it with my good friends like Brandon and Jason and Ryan and Jessica and almost the whole tribe was there. And if you were there, you're probably listening to this right now. So thanks, guys, for enjoying the show with me. It was a lot of fun. Can't wait to do it again. Got my money's worth and more, and a very attractive orange Sloan t-shirt to boot. If you're interested in reliving or living, approximating the experience of the live show, I made a playlist on YouTube, which is all the songs they played, and I took live performances, most of them from the exact same tour, so they sounded, much like they did when we saw them, and then a few performances from past years. But I put those all together on a playlist on YouTube, and I linked that on the Melody Motel site. And it sounds pretty good. There's no way you can grasp how huge that band sounds unless you see them live. That's one of the things that really surprised me, and I'm glad I remembered to talk about this. Is I'd watched many live performances of them on YouTube, and they sound fine. It's usually somebody recording it with their phone or something, but when you're standing right in front of them, they are so huge. The rock stuff sounds heavier. Songs with a lot of dynamics sound much more dynamic. And they have a fifth member on stage, too, that I should mention, Gregory McDonald, who probably the most valuable thing he contributes to the band, I would say. It's a toss-up, but probably the most valuable thing is his singing. Incredible harmony singer. It was his 40th birthday. They let him get up and sing lead on Gimme That, which is really cool. But he's putting in those high harmonies, even higher than Murphy, which just make the song sometimes. And great keyboard player. Another thing that he did was when they were tuning or switching instruments or something, he would play the opening music from the NS from Between the Bridges, which was a cool little interlude. Plays a lot of percussion, just a fun personality on stage. So shout out to Gregory McDonald, the fifth Sloan. Okay, cool guy. But band sounded huge. Loved him. Now on to Commonwealth. Commonwealth came out in September of 2014, actually on my birthday, September 9th of 2014. And it was a project. They, I think, originally tossed around the idea of doing 4 individual solo albums a la Kiss. I wish I could do my Paul Stanley impersonation right now, but I don't know if I'm confident enough to do that on the air. I wish my good friend Ryan Mason was here right now because he would do it. But they ended up doing a double album with 4 sides. And there's a cool, the cover's cool. And one of the coolest things about the cover is they had playing cards made with each of the 4 members of the band pictured on them as kings. And I actually had those playing cards for sale at the show. I'm kicking myself for not buying a pack of those. But Jay Ferguson is Diamond, and Chris Murphy is Hearts, and Pentland is Shamrocks or clubs. Shamrocks to reflect his Irish heritage, and Andrew Scott is Spades. And so there's a Diamond side, Heart side, Shamrock side, Spade side for each member of the band. And everyone but Andrew Scott did individual songs, 4 or 5 individual songs, and then Andrew Scott did the aforementioned 18-minute song with a bunch of ideas that he had that the rest of the band, I think, kind of helped him stitch together into a quick one while he's away, or Beatles side 2 of Abbey Road kind of thing. Which is pretty cool. Overall, the album I'd say it's the darkest Sloan album. That's how I think of it. Just from note 1, the whole tone of the album is darker, more minor key. It's still Sloan. It's still pop rock, but definitely darker. But I enjoy it. We're going to play I think the only single from it, which is Keep Swinging, in parentheses, Downtown, which is a Pentland song. And then my favorite song on the album, it's kind of a toss-up between You've Got a Lot on Your Mind, a Ferguson song, and Carried Away, which is a Murphy song. So we'll play those both. And you heard the first part of 48 Portraits, the Andrew Scott thing, already. So, Commonwealth, the 2014 album from Sloan. Here's Keep Swinging.
You've got it tuned to KEXP. We're listener-powered radio at 90.3 FM in Seattle. You can find us online around the world at KEXP.org. I'm Cheryl Waters, president of the KEXP Sloan Fan Club, and super excited. Actually, I duke it out with my coworker Janice. Sometimes we have to alternate years with the presidency. But we're all big fans of yours here at KEXP, and always delighted when you're live in studio. So thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having us back.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure. You ready to start us off with some music?
Sure.
All right. Take it away.
3, 4.